Very often, when on this program, we look at clips from congressional hearings, particularly clips of Republican members of Congress who have an inflated sense of self-importance and ego, trying to make themselves look like they are smart and well-prepared. It's merely disaster porn. And what I mean by that is it's not particularly instructive. It's sort of like, wow, they looked really dumb, but there's not that much to learn from it. Today, I have a very different example for you that is extraordinarily instructive, and we're going to link it actually to this recent report on the origins or oranges of COVID from the Department of Energy. But before I even do that, let's talk about what we're talking about. Radical and repugnant Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz was called out yesterday in real time for citing Chinese propaganda. Now, what happens here is extraordinarily instructive with regard to confirmation bias and not only the willingness, but the eagerness of these right-wingers to accept any source uncritically if it confirms what they already believe. So let's take a look at this clip. This was a moment during the House Armed Services Committee where Matt Gaetz tried to sort of gotcha Colin Kahl, who's the U.S. Defense Undersecretary for Policy, and talk about the Azov Battalion getting access to American weapons. Colin Kahl says, I don't have any evidence of that. And Matt Gaetz says, well, what about this? And it turns out that it is overt Chinese propaganda. You will also notice if you're watching this clip that some of the folks sitting in the audience really seem to be enjoying this. Okay, so let's take a look and then we'll talk about it.
Is the Azov Battalion getting access to U.S. weapons?
Not that I'm aware of, but if you have information,
I seek
happy to
unanimous
share it.
consent to enter into the record the Global Times investigative report that that talks about training. It's from the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensics Research Lab, citing that the Azov Battalion was even getting stuff as far back as 2018.
Without objection, so ordered.
Any reason to disagree with that assessment, Dr.
Is this the, I'm sorry, is this the Global Times from China?
No, this is,
That's what you read.
yeah, it might be. Yeah, would that be a reason?
As a general matter, I don't take Beijing's
Well,
propaganda.
no,
at
yeah,
face
but just tell me
value.
if the allegation is true or false. I mean,
I don't have any evidence one way or the other. As a general matter, I don't take Beijing's propaganda at face value.
fair enough. I would agree with that assessment. April.
The Global Times, okay, is a daily tabloid newspaper published under the auspices of the Chinese Communist Party's flagship paper, the People's Daily. It is overtly Chinese propaganda. Now, a tabloid Chinese propaganda newspaper might occasionally publish things that are true, but understand that Matt Gaetz doesn't actually care about that. Matt Gaetz didn't have any idea that he was repeating overt Chinese propaganda there. And the sort of story of the day here is confirmation bias. Now, okay, Matt Gaetz probably later went and yelled at whatever staffer put that in his package of stuff for the day and said, I'm being ridiculed the country over for what I just did. And somebody is going to be fired or going to be admonished for it. But if you look at the clip, you can tell not only does Matt Gaetz not know anything about the source, he doesn't care about the source. And this is a perfect example of how the modern Republican Party, the MAGA people, etc., they embrace any source that tells them what they want to hear or what they already believe. And they don't care about the validity of the source. The analogy here is the Department of Energy report on COVID origins. We talked about this extensively yesterday on the bonus show.
Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money.
Yeah.
Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
And we made an incredible amount of money on yesterday's bonus show talking about this. The Department of Energy put out a report about the origins of COVID and says, our assessment is it was an accidental leak from a lab in China. And in the report, the Department of Energy says this is a low confidence assessment and it's based on not super reliable and very limited evidence. And all of a sudden, the same right-wingers who for 3 years have been saying, I don't trust anything the government tells us about the origins of COVID, Now they trust a Department of Energy assessment about the origins of COVID. Why is the Department of Energy even assessing this? Well, that's a fair question, but the real point is they are now uncritically accepting a government report about the origins of COVID after saying for years you couldn't trust government reports about the origins of COVID. Why? Because it happens to be a report, admittedly low confidence, admittedly with sketchy and limited data, that confirms what they already believe. And that's what this is fundamentally all about. This is like a bonus clip from yesterday's hearing. Here is friend of the show, Eric Swalwell, slamming Matt Gaetz for bringing to the hearing someone he met at a gun club who had been charged with killing a family member in April of 2019. This isn't a joke. Okay, this is where we are today. Take a look.
One of the very first committee hearing of this Congress, Mr. Gaetz, after we'd all agreed on what the committee's plan was going to be, it was going to be voice voted, everyone agreed, Mr. Gaetz wanted to offer an amendment to say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's great. Every single person on our side supported that. Now, I don't think he really genuinely cares about saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
No.
But he wanted to do it, again, to own the libs and to see if we would vote against it. We didn't. But who did he bring in here to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Right.
Who did he parade in here in a uniform? Somebody that he met at a gun club, he said, locally. Okay. Mr. Cicilline had the crazy idea that maybe we should vet the people who come in here, make sure they're not insurrectionists. Mr. McClintock, I am not kidding you. Mr. McClintock said, well, it's not like we're going to invite somebody who committed murder. No, he literally said that. It's not like we're going to invite somebody who committed murder. Okay, well, who did Mr. Gaetz bring? He brought Corey Beekman. Corey Beekman in 2019 was in a standoff with the Michigan police after he was arrested and charged with murder, assault with intent to commit murder, and 2 counts of felony firearm possession. The family of the victims said Mr. Gaetz doing that, it was like getting a dagger stuck in our heart again. We were infuriated when we first saw it. I was disgusted with the whole thing. That's why there's a trust deficit here. You pull off a public stunt to try and own the libs, and what you did was you brought in a guy who allegedly shot 2 people and killed one of them.
Yep. So a very, very bad day yesterday for Matt Gaetz, and this is exactly what we expected with Republicans controlling the House of Representatives. Humiliation after embarrassment after humiliation after embarrassment, and they are certainly not disappointing. One of our sponsors is Zippix nicotine toothpicks. Don't you think it's time you stopped putting smoke and vape oils in your lungs? Zippix toothpicks are a convenient way to curb the nicotine cravings. Zippix toothpicks are super discreet. You can use them anytime, anywhere smoking and vaping aren't allowed, including flights, sporting events, in restaurants. They're available in 6 different flavors with options of 2 and 3 milligrams of nicotine. If you're not a nicotine user, Zippix also offers caffeine and B12 infused toothpicks. Zippix has already helped tens of thousands of customers ditch the cigarettes, ditch the vapes. They might be able to help you too. If you're a smoker or a vapor, give Zippix toothpicks a try. Your lungs will thank you. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com today. Save 10% with the code PACMAN10 at checkout. Just remember, you must be 21 or older to order. The link is down below.